council meeting. Following that, meetings on policy submissions, the Audit and Risk Committee, and various touch points throughout the new councillors' inductions. I would like to move that as my chairman's report. Have a second, Councillor Jackson. Thank you. All those in favour? Against, so carried. So moving ahead to item 6 on page 6.1, the minutes of the Environmental Services meeting held on the 15th of November 2022, and so moved by Councillor Parker and seconded by Councillor Shannon. Any discussion in respect to those? All those in favour? Against? So moved. Going to reports, items 7 and 7.1. So we have our in-house carbon management, carbon inventory.
Sorry, you're on the environmental services.
Oh, sorry. Jeepers. Shall I go back to? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's slightly embarrassing. 7.1, establishing membership of subcommittees. Sorry. I always like to run other people's meetings. So on this one we have establishing 2 subcommittee and reference groups, and one's in relation to rates subcommittee submissions and the Theatre Royal and Heritage Facility reference group. So I'll open the floor to Jason to talk to those.
Thank you. So the first committee or subcommittee that we are establishing today is the Rates Remission Subcommittee. This is one that's been around for every council triennium. So on this one, this is around where decision making on rates remissions appeals, where the application is declined or partially remitted. So that's when this committee meets. We're proposing the membership of the Mayor, the Chairperson of the Commission Strategy, Chairperson of the Community Services Committee with a quorum of 2, and it's really just to hear any appeals on those matters.
Any discussion from council?
That's
yeah,
fine.
Only that I don't think we met last
no.
term, so
Yeah.
yeah, not very onerous.
Yeah. So it's in respect to delegations anyway.
No, and the second subcommittee, this follows the Theatre Royal and Heritage Facility decision that was made prior to Christmas, and there was a discussion around having a governance reference group. At that meeting it was agreed that the Mayor, Chairperson, Community Services Committee and 2 councillors who at that time were nominated as Councillor Piddington and Councillor Jackson. So this is a report back in terms of establishing the subcommittee and talking about the functions, which are relatively wide for that meeting. So happy to take any questions on that. Yes.
So in terms of, if there is any discussion, I suppose it's around the terms of reference for that group, but it's a moving feast. Are we happy? Is there any discussion in relation to that? Happy to move, Your Worship. Seconder, Councillor Pye. All those in favour? Against, so carried. And moving to 7.2, financial report for the month ending November 2022. And again, I'd like to welcome to the bench here to open the floor for you to give us a talk to this paper and open to any questions.
Thank you. So I'll just kick off. So Andrea Rankin, Acting CFO. So this is the report back on the November 22 financial results in order for Council to have awareness of where our financial position is at. And Andrea will go through some of the detail. I think it's really important to note that there are some timing differences within this report, and that the finance team over the last couple of months have been working hard on the forecast, and so the forecast is the most important thing in terms of where we're going to be at the end of the financial year. So this shows where we are at the end of November. The report that we're bringing to the 14th of February Council meeting as part of the 6-monthly report will include the forecasted position as at the end of December and where we're going to be at the end of June. So with that in mind, I'll just hand over to Andrea to highlight any significant matters.
Thank you. Part of what I was going to say was talking about the forecast, but we've covered that. So I guess just looking at November, we were in a surplus at that point in time. with operating revenue continuing to be above budget. And some of that above budget stuff relates to unbudgeted water revenues that we've received through the stimulus and the Three Waters transition support. From an expense perspective, we're tracking along consistently with budget, so that's good. And then I guess from a capital expenditure perspective, we are running below budget with the intention to catch up but not fully spend all capital this year, as the forecast next month will show. And the debt to revenue ratio has remained the same. We've taken on no debt in the November period.
Excellent. Open to the floor. Any questions? Councillor Piddington.
Thanks for that. Just a couple of things I wondered if you could help me with. Like on page 16, it says roading is $1.4 million over budget, mainly due to sealed road maintenance and emergency works. With those big numbers, I wonder whether we can have them split down at some stage, because I'd like to know how much we spent on emergency work versus just regular sealing. Because while the budget overall is pretty good, there are some big ups and downs. And my second question is page 24, 743 of wages is going to be capitalised. Just wondered, give us an example of when you'd capitalise wages into projects.
Well, I can certainly answer the first question there around the roading side of things. So basically, when it comes to resurfacing, we stick to budget. We're not extending that whatsoever. So the extra expenditure is all been around the emergency work side of things.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks Andrew. The way it read, I thought we were doing some sealing and it was, no, that makes sense. So it's quite big unbudgeted work with more to come, no doubt.
Yes, we're still completing some of that work, yeah.
Any idea what the final cost will be? And whether we get any back from
Not
Whaka
offhand,
Kotahi?
no, I can find that out for you if you wish.
Oh no, it doesn't matter, I just want.
Andrew, do you want to also have a answer the second question?
Yeah.
You can, because this is around at the moment we've got a number of operational costs, about 740,000, which we're about to capitalise into capital projects. Do you want to give us some examples to Councillor Piddington where you might capitalise in the Three Waters and roading space?
Yeah, but basically, yeah, so we capitalise, I guess, well, where staff work on capital projects, that is a cost to the project as such. So that is where we capitalise the salary component of that. Now, it's done by journal, and usually it's a wash up at the end of the year, so it will show as a variance at this point.
Okay, so that's the annual catch-up kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's a balancing, catch up. So we want to know how much time staff have actually spent on capital works projects as we move through to that point.
Yep, no, that makes sense. It was just a big number sitting there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can I just add, also Councillor Piddington, in order to keep visibility over the remuneration, at the end of the year, when we do the annual report, there's essentially on the face of the P&L, the Statement of Financial Performance, there's 4 lines for expenditure. One of them is remuneration. Those numbers will appear in that as well. So it's really an exercise in management accounting about what is the true cost of that capital project. But it doesn't, you will still see the full cost to council of remuneration paid in wages as well. So it's a presentation issue to inform readers about what is the true cost of the project.
No, that's cool. It's just that it was a big number.
Yes, it is.
In 1 month, and I just.
Yes, I appreciate that, but just, so it kind of appears almost in 2 parts, if you like.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Councillor Piddington. If you close out your speaker, thank you. Your Worship, the Mayor.
Thank you. Look, a couple of things I note. One, parks, similar with pools being significantly under budget. Obviously staffing, whether it's staffing sitting with us or staffing sitting with the contractors, are an issue. But the problem that you have when parks is 300k under budget is that actually we've got a massive decline in service delivery, and I think that's probably some of the issues that we're seeing, you know, around town at the moment, and our townships as well, as far as weed growth and those sort of things. So more just highlighting the point that, and we understand that we need a plan for the likes of the pools, and even though we've been, trying to get a plan, what is our plan for our contracting? Is the model, correct at the moment? Did we utilise some staffing resource from universities, etc., for some of those, menial type jobs that, pretty much anyone can do on the back of a lawnmower or weed eater, etc., and then we wouldn't be getting complaints that we do. Just want to note also emergency works that I assume officers will bring forward increase in the emergency fund to annual plan, and probably then LTP as well, because we need to focus on that. But my question was around the 172, which is waste minimisation fees. So 302k below budget. I'll just speak so you don't have to go to it, but 172 relates to waste collection bin lease income no longer receivable due to the contract supplier. But if we've changed the contract supplier, we know we've done that. Why is it in the budget? And is that effectively a deficit that we haven't taken into account?
Yeah, basically the budget as it stands, the annual plan budget didn't take that into account because there was a new contract that came in place pretty close to when that budget was formed. So that lease component that the contractor used to pay, doesn't under the new contract, was still in the budget at the time. So yeah. Waste fees, they're down as well because it's probably because less volumes are going in. Now, one of the reasons that I do know of was that Mackenzie delayed the start of their new contract. So hence a lot of the waste was still going to their old landfill arrangements. It didn't come to Timaru, but we had budgeted for them to start on the 1st of July. So there was a bit of a difference there. And commercial waste, of course, is a major driver with our landfill, and it seems that the volumes are down there as well, which, you've got to recognise too that costs are probably going to be a little bit lower at the same time.
So that 172 though, is that a hole? Is that an oversight effectively, or we were aware of that?
It was an oversight at the time the budget was prepared.
So I guess moving forward that'll come out as far as future budgets will.
It will be corrected for the next
Be
annual
corrected,
plan.
yeah. Okay.
And get an overview here.
Yes, so that'll be corrected as part of the annual plan. What's interesting in the waste space, if we look at page 22, this is the activity view. So when we look at waste minimisation as an activity, the revenue is down sort of 150,000, but the expenses are also down 91,000. So when you net it off, it's about a 61 net difference.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when we're looking at revenue and expenditure in isolation, we need to sort of look at the activity view as well. But waste is an issue which we are addressing as part of the annual plan, along with the emergency works number as well.
Okay, cool. So effectively that waste can be addressed through fees and charges.
Yeah, and so to a point, yes. And so that's why when we do the forecast, which we're doing next month, for the next report, those numbers will tease out where we expect waste to land at the end of the year.
Yeah, because traditionally waste has always been a performer, hasn't it? Largely through volume over the weighbridge, but it's nice for it to stay in that part of the business to be a performer. We've got enough underperformers, so thank you.
Well, what I will say is, COVID has changed things a little bit with waste as well, and people are a lot more conscious of it in the commercial sector side of things, and they're looking at different disposal methods, not just sending it to landfill as much anymore.
Sorry, can I just have one?
Yes, go.
Yeah, so in the commentary around offsetting the unfavourable variance with 120k for the levy refund, that's fine in itself, but the 120k levy refund is targeted, isn't it? So targeted to specific projects, is that correct? Oh, so so it's saying, it's giving some balance, I guess, by saying, hey, we haven't received income here because we made a mistake, but in offsetting that unfavourable variance is a 120k waste levy refund. So is that? Oh, so that's not specific to. So that's just we've effectively overpaid the levy.
The levy is built into the waste charge here. Yeah, and then we get return on that levy. That levy comes back to 50% of it comes back to council. So.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Sorry, Councillor Pye. Councillor Shannon's been waiting, and then I'll go Councillor Pye. Yes. Yeah, so Councillor Shannon?
That's right. Mayor Bowen actually did touch on the parks maintenance underspend today. And while we are, of course, sympathetic to our contractors' personnel challenges, at what point do we have a look at what's not being done and perhaps look at other opportunities to address those, or even have a look at the contract and say this actually isn't being honoured? Do we tolerate it till the end of the financial year, or are we already highlighting areas that we need to take care of this now, because it's not a good look for the council or our whole district?
With the parks maintenance is a real challenge at the moment for us. Basically, the contracts that are in place have been priced very lowly and cheaply, and it is a struggle to keep contractors meeting their targets. But we do have people who are struggling to do that. We are trying to achieve that. Coupled with that, we are actually going through a complete review of the parks and the parks contracts. So we're doing what's the Section 17A review, which is looking at the whole way we deliver the service and how we can do it better. And the contract makeup is brought into that. One of the issues we do have with parks is there's 19 different contracts, which is a significant number, and a significant number for staff to manage as well. So we will be rationalising that to a lesser number of contracts. Yeah. But there is the whole review is being undertaken at the moment.
And when's that going to be complete? I mean, are we going to see out the financial year until that review's been finished? And if there are, 19 contracts, are there separate contractors that could mean we'll be picking up some of the contracts that aren't being actually completed to an agreeable standard right now?
Contractors are struggling as well getting staff resources, and we only have really 2 contractors that are operating in Timaru, and they hold most of those contracts.
Sorry, just a supplementary, the hierarchy of usurping is the mayor.
No, thank you. Look, I mean, the comment around, contractors and they've still signed up to a contract. That's the point that I get. It doesn't matter, you can't just come to council and say, well, actually, we didn't price it right. They still have to deliver. And I think we need to hold them to that no matter what. And it's not okay that their level of service that we've committed to, at the point in time, I know no one can preempt inflation and all those sorts of things, but actually we have to hold them to what they promised to deliver. And if they can't deliver, then we need to look at our options. That's where I sit.
What I will say is we are penalising those contractors for non-delivery every month. Yeah.
Imagine. Councillor Pye in relation to waste. Hold on, hold that thought. Anyone else? Okay.
I just, want to go back to the waste. So in the last report, we had 2 major variances that effectively offset each other. So one was we were way over budget on the contractor collection costs of about 519,000. And so my question is that still a variance? And there was also a positive variance in the carbon credits of 614,000, and it said that was timing and they weren't bought in December. So my question is, did we buy those credits and has the curbing contractor come into line, the expenses, or have we not bought the credits and they're still both big variances, they just happen to net each other off and so are not apparent in the report? Thank you.
We have bought the carbon credits, yes.
Yeah.
And in relation.
Sorry, so does that mean that we've come back into line more on the budget for the curbside collection? Because that was quite a variance last time, but that obviously must have come back into line as well.
I would have to.
Okay, thank you.
I think we need to check that, but I think reading the numbers, it hasn't spat out, so I think it may have come back in line, but we'll confirm that. And that's what so we're reforecasting the whole of waste to see where those issues are so that we can properly understand them and where possible put plans in place to address them, or if not, at least we understand where they sit.
Further question?
I'd just like to point out that we haven't purchased all of our carbon credits yet. We've purchased a substantial number of them, but I think we've got about another 10,000 to get.
Thank you. I just have, just for my understanding, could you just explain to me, under the personnel costs, you talk about a vacancy factor, and it offsets one of the variances. I just don't understand what that means.
So what we do, we budget all staff at 100%, and so that's the expectation that those are the roles. But then we understand that we have an 8 to 10% vacancy factor during the year, so we then take that factor off. And so whilst we budget staff, we then go, actually they're not going to be here, so we take that off. So the vacancy factor at the moment is running much higher because we have quite a high level of vacancy at the moment, and that's why I guess personnel as a whole is slightly under, given the staffing issues at Sea Bay, vacancies throughout the organisation, and yeah, so that's what that is.
Councillor Scott.
Just wanted to talk about the subsidies and grants section around the Theatre Royal, and the reference to the MB grant. So I couldn't see how much we have drawn down to date. So could I understand how much has actually been drawn down to date? I see we haven't drawn down the $1 million due to stage, but how much have we actually drawn down in total to date?
I'll get Nicole to assist with this, but the issue with this is that it's a timing difference. So we know we're going to get X $1 million from MB during the year. It's just going to come at certain stages, and because this is just a phased budget at this point in time, that's why the variance is splitting out. So MB have now reconfirmed that they will be giving us the full 11.6 million for this project. As part of our forecasting, we just need to phase it correctly. But I'll get Nicole just to answer how much have we received and when the next track
because we've got 11.3, so I just wondered how much we've drawn down to date, because I sort of missed that in my knowledge gathering.
I think we'll get the numbers in full, Nicole, because I think actually there's a drawdown to date for this financial year and a total since we've had the MB money. So there's going to be two parts that will make it up. So we'll go back into prior years and get what was to 30 June 2022 and what we've had from 1 July to the current point in time.
It'd just be good to know that heading into our reference group meeting, so I just have a better feel for the financial side of that. So thank you.
So that reference meeting is tomorrow, isn't it? Yes, so they'd be capable of being... You're right.
I'd have thought we would. Yeah, I think we can do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Magic.
yeah.
Awesome. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Booth.
Just the variance with the capitalisation of the funds. So when you capitalise, these are the year-to-date figures. Is that correct? So when you capitalise 700 and whatever it is, $1,000, that would therefore come off the wages personnel costs. Is that right?
As Bede was talking to before, it still comes off personnel. It's a difference between funding, so it's funded through capital. So we'll transfer that to capital, the capital spend will go up, but at the end of the year it still appears in our financial statements as salaries and wages.
But that 700,000 has been spent on wages, so therefore you're showing you're 700,000 below. So
currently capital is showing a 700,000 below what it should. Yes, and it'll get transferred.
Yeah, but the wages, so it goes against so you take that figure off the ledger, the wages or the personnel ledger.
It stays in personnel, it's just funded through capital.
Okay. Don't really understand, but...
What happens is the wages, when we pay wages, there's an entry which goes and says wages have been paid of 100, so the bank account drops by 100. But we then, if 75 of those wages are to capital, we show 75 of those wages going against a capital project, and it increases the value of that capital project by 75. The wages paid across the organisation remains at 100. It's just where the funding for it is allocated.
Okay.
Happy with that, Councillor? Any other questions? Okay, can I have a mover in relation to receiving that report? Thank you, Councillor Scott. And Your Worship the Mayor, all those in favour? Aye. Against? So carried. I have no further business of urgent business or minor nature business, so I will close the meeting at 12:48.